Welcome to Lavel Claytor's Projects with a Purpose. We are in Word 2. In this lesson, we're going to learn the parts of the Microsoft Word screen. As you may know, Microsoft Word is a popular word processing program used to create documents such as letters, reports, brochures, business cards, flyers, quizzes, forms, and so much more. Let's get started. We're going to start by clicking the Word icon on the taskbar at the bottom of our screen. We're going to click it once, and what's going to happen is going to take us into the Backstage View of Microsoft Word. Now, the first column over here allows us to access different parts of Microsoft Word, but we'll get to that in a later episode. We're actually going to click on the blank document. So we're going to click on it once. And now we are looking at the Microsoft Word interface or the screen. We're going to start in the upper left-hand corner. Now in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to notice that we have some commands that are sitting here. This is called the Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar is used to create a customizable toolbar that contains a set of commands not commonly shown on the ribbon. So normally what you'll see is your undo button, your save button, and sometimes you will see your redo or repeat button. But if you like to customize it, all you have to do is click the down arrow or the more button for Customize Quick Access Toolbar, and you will notice that there are check marks on some of the words, and this indicates that any of the commands that have the check marks will show on the Quick Access Toolbar. So if I click on redo, as you notice, it will go away. If I go back to my more button and then I click on save, you will notice that command is no longer there. So I'm going to go ahead and click the more button for my custom Quick Access Toolbar, and I'm going to click save, so it will put it back on the Quick Access Toolbar. But one of the things I would like you to notice is that this undo button is grayed out, and it doesn't matter how many times you click on it, nothing's going to happen. So when you see a command is grayed out, that means at this time it is unavailable. Now I'm going to move over here to the right, and we are looking at the title bar. And the title bar displays the name of the document, and depending on your version, it will display the name of the software you are in. Now we're going to go over to the right side of our screen, and we're looking at our program control buttons. And this first one right here is the ribbon display options. And when you click on it once, what you'll notice when you look down the list, you're going to notice that the last one, the image has a little gray background on it, and that's letting you know it is active. Now, if I want to show the tabs only, I can click here. And once I click here, you're going to notice that only my tabs are showing, my commands are not showing at this time. Now you still have access to your commands. When I click on the Home tab, it will display all of my commands. And then when I click back onto my document, it will hide them. Now I'm going to go back to my ribbon display options button, and then I'm going to choose Auto Hide Ribbon. Now what's going to happen, it's going to hide the ribbon itself. Now when I move my mouse up very slowly, you're going to notice this blue bar drops down. Now when it drops down, you can click on it once and it will display the ribbon. Now the ribbon is made up of two parts. The first part is the tabs and the second part is the commands. Now, once I'm done doing whatever it is that I need to do with the tabs, I can go ahead and click back on my document and it will hide the ribbon again. I'm just going to push my mouse up very slowly. And when the blue bar drops down, I'm going to click on it once. And as you notice, it is hovering. So I'm going to go all the way over to my right, and I'm going to click on the ribbon display options. And then I'm going to choose the last option, which is show tabs and commands. And it will lock it on to my screen. Okay, so the next button that I want to talk about is the minimize button, and it looks like a little dash. When you click on it once, what it does, it pushes it down to the taskbar. Now, if you notice, when I let my mouse hover on the word icon, it lets me know that I have a item open, but also notice that I have this little blue line underneath it. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and just close this, so the X is to close. Now notice when you look down here at the bottom and you look at the icon, there's not a blue line under it. So it's letting me know that this software is not open. So when I click to launch Microsoft Word and I choose a blank document and I click on the minimize, what will happen is it's going to drop it down to the bottom of my taskbar. And if I let my mouse hover, you're going to see a thumbnail. And I can either click on the icon itself, or I can click on the thumbnail and it will restore it back to the size that it was. Now, let me do this. I'm going to type 1, and then I'm going to do another one. I'm going to type 2, and I'm going to do another one. I'm just doing Control N, and I'm going to type 3. Now, when I look down here at the bottom, see how it has 1, 2, and 3? So I have 3 items are open, and what I can do, if I want to look at one, I can click that one. If I go back to my icon on my taskbar, I can take my mouse to number 2 and it'll bring me number 2. And I can take my mouse back and I can take my mouse to 3 and it'll open number 3. So let me go ahead and close that. I just want to show you how that works. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Don't save. Close, don't save, and I'm back to number 1. I'm going to delete that. Now the next one, so we talked about the minimize and we talked about closing our document, but this is the one that I want to talk about, is the restore down. When I click on it, what it does, it just makes the window smaller. Now, if you want to resize the window, what you have to do is take your mouse towards the top, and see how I get the 2-headed arrow? I'm going to click and hold and pull up, and see how it makes it a little bit taller. I can go down to the bottom, click and hold, pull down, and then I can also go to the left side, and when I get the 2-headed arrow, which means to resize, click and hold, and I can make it a little bit wider, and I can do the same on the right side of my screen. Also, if I want to move this window, I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm actually going to go to the bottom right side and pull diagonally. Now, if I want to move this window, what I usually do, I click on the name of the file, and when I click and hold my mouse, I can move it anywhere on my document. I can move it anywhere on my screen by clicking and holding. And when I let it go, it'll let it rest there. I can go back and I can move it somewhere else. Click and hold, I'm dragging. And then I'm gonna do again, click and hold, drag. Now, see how my command has changed? So before it was like 2 squares, 1 square in front of the other one. This one is a single square, which means to maximize, and it will fill the screen. The next part I want to talk about is the tabs and the commands. So when you're looking at a particular tab, you're going to notice that you have your commands, or these are images. And then also you have what's called a group. So when you look right here, this is called the clipboard group. And these groups are divided by a line that is in between each one of the groups. So you'll notice that there are these lines. So whenever I'm giving instruction, I may say, go to the home tab and then go to the clipboard group. And then I'll tell you which command I would like you to click on. Now, while we're looking at the commands, what you may notice, one of the commands in this group has a little arrow pointing down. And that means that this particular command has more options available to it. Now, when we talk about commands, a command button is a clickable button used to run an existing built-in function or VBA function. In other words, what it's saying is that each command has normally one job to do. Once you click on it, it will activate and do that procedure. So if we go to the font group and we look in the second row, the third command is underline. So we also notice to the right of underline, there is a little arrow here pointing down, which means there are more options available than just putting a single underline under a particular word. Also, you're going to notice on the ribbon is the Dialog Box Launcher. On the Home tab, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Dialog Box Launchers. Now, the Dialog Box Launcher, when you click on it, it will open up a dialog box. A dialog box offers more options than what is available on the ribbon. So if you look at the font dialog box, you're going to notice that there may be a few extra options that are available to you. Let me move this over just a little bit so we can kind of look. So we do notice that right here we have our font, and then notice right here we have our fonts here. We also have the font styles, which is regular, italic, bold, and italic. I'm sorry, bold, italic. We have bold, italic that are sitting here also. We also have our font size, and we have our font size. Now over here we have our font color, and we have our font color here. We have our underline. We have underline here. What you don't see is that we can do an underline, but here we cannot change the underline color. We have to do that here. Now also we have strike through, which is here, but then there is a double strike through, which is not available. So you kind of see where I'm going. And as you start to look through these, you will notice that there are some items that are listed in the dialog box that is not listed on the ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and click my X to close that. Now the next item that I want to talk about is the horizontal ruler. And we're going to notice that on the ruler, we have this hourglass. Now the hourglass is made up of 3 parts. The bottom part is called your left indent. The triangle pointing up is called, wait, I'm trying to move it up a little bit. There we go. Is called your hanging indent. And then the one at the very top is your first line indent. And we'll play around with this a little bit later on in our episodes. Now also over here to my left is my tabs or my tab stops. And right now when I let my mouse hover there, it says left tab stop. Now when I click on it, the tab stop changes and I have to move my mouse away from it and go back, and it'll give me a screen tip letting me know what it does. So this one will center my text depending on where I place it on my ruler. And if I click it again and I move back, it's going to change and it's going to say right tab. Now we'll play around with this a little bit later in another episode, but also notice that you have a vertical ruler as well on the left side of your screen. But here's what I want to show you. When you look at the ruler, you're going to notice that you have these gray areas. So this gray area is letting you know for this part of the ruler, it's letting you know this is where the margin on the left side is. Notice my insertion point is blinking here. Now I'm just going to write in some a code that'll give me some generic paragraphs. Now notice none of these words move over into the gray section on the left and or on the right side. So these are our left and right margins. But also notice, and let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see. Also notice on the vertical ruler, there is a gray area here. If you notice, when we enter this information onto the document, this section is empty. So this is called your header. And to get into your header, you can double click. And as you see right here, it says header. And I'm going to escape to get out of it. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And notice also on my left side where this gray area is, I can double click, and this is called your footer. And like I said, we'll play a little bit more in this a little bit later. Now I'm going to hit my escape to get out of this, and I'm going to scroll back up to the very top. Now, when you look all the way over here to the right, you're going to see the scroll bar, and it's made up of 3 parts. You have your arrow pointing up, and you have your bar that you can click and hold, and then you have your little arrow pointing down. And if you tap it, either the down arrow or the up, it just takes you down in increments, just very slowly. I'm gonna go up to the top and tap the one at the top. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Now, if you have more than one page, and let me go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller. I'm actually going to remove this information by selecting, press my delete, and I'll put equal rand, open parenthesis, 100. What's going to do is give us 100 generic paragraphs. So we do have several pages here. I'm going to actually scroll up to the very top. Okay. Now, when you look over here to the right, when I start to scroll down, see how it says page 1, page 2, page 3. So you actually get a screen tip letting you know what page you are scrolling down to or scrolling back up to. Now also what I want you to notice, let's go down to the bottom left side of our screen. We have this section right here is called your status bar. Now what I'd like you to really notice is that right here it says page 1 of 9. In other words, what it's telling me is that my insertion point, or I am viewing page 1, and there is a total, when I scroll down, there is a total of 9 pages. So when I go back down to the bottom left side of my screen, I'm on page 9 of 9. Also to the right of that, you're going to notice your word count. Now it says I have 4,780 words on this particular document. I'm going to go ahead and click here. In the word count window, it says I have 9 pages. I have 4,780 words. And as far as my characters are concerned, so my characters with no spaces is 21,260. And then with spaces, it's 2,940. And then we have 100 paragraphs and 30 lines. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. If you have and let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see, I'm going to select a paragraph. Now you're going to notice that this information changes here at the bottom, and it's letting you know that you have selected 42 words. And when you click on the word count, it lets you know it's 1 page. And this is because we selected only the information on 1 page. We have 42 words. And then it lets you know how many characters you have with no spaces, with spaces, how many paragraphs, and how many lines. Okay, I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna go ahead and click away. Now, this part right here, it shows your errors or proofing errors. Now watch, right now it looks like a little book and it has a check mark. Now I'm gonna misspell a word here. Now notice, look here at the bottom, it has a little X. Now I'm actually going to scroll up. I'm going to go to the very top and I'm going to click. Now when I click on the proofing button here, when I click on it, it's going to automatically take me to the section or the word that I have misspelled, and see how it selects it. But notice over on my right, it says it is a spelling error and it has no idea what word I'm trying to spell. So that is okay. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go ahead and fix the word. And then I'm going to click away from it. And I'm going to go ahead and close this pane on the right side of my screen, and notice the check mark is clear. Now normally this next button does not show up. This is called your macros, and we'll talk about macros later. Now I'm going over to my right. And this is called your read mode. And this is really cool. If you like to read your documents as if you're reading a book, we'll click on that once. And then see how it kind of looks like a book. Let me go ahead and get started let me get to the very first page. And so now it just looks like a book. In this particular area, you can actually change the way this looks. If you like the tablet view, where your background is black and your words are white, all you have to do is go to View and then go to Color Page and do Inverse. And see, now it looks like, I think they're called like a Kindle reader or something like that. And then you can just click the next button over here on my right, and it'll take you to the next page, and then you can continue going through the document. Now, if you want to get out of this, you can click View and you can click Edit Document, and it'll take you back to your document. The next thing over here on this side is your zoom, and you can zoom out, and all it's going to do is make the document look a little smaller, as if it's a little bit further away from you. Also, there is a scroll bar right here, and then if you push it to the right, it's going to look bigger, and you push it to the left, it's going to get a little smaller. And then over more to your right is the plus sign, which is your zoom in, and if you tap it, and all it's going to do is look like the document is becoming closer to you. It doesn't change the size of the word, it kind of just brings it a little bit closer to your view so it looks a little larger. Now over to your right is your zoom volume. We're going to go ahead and click on that once, and we're in zoom. So this particular dialog box will allow you to zoom to 200%. Now I'm going to click on that right now, and I'm going to click OK, and it's going to zoom it to 200%. I'm going to go back down to the bottom right side of my screen. I'm going to click on the 200, and I'm going to click 100%. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to take it to 100%. I'm going to go back down to my zoom, and I'm going to click on the percentage, and if I wanted to see multiple pages, I can click here and click my down arrow for multiple pages, and I can choose how many pages I would like to see in front of me, and I'm going to choose 3, and I'm going to click OK, and now it has it listed 3 in a row. So I have these 3. When I scroll down a little bit more, I have 3. Scroll down a little bit more, I have 3, and then that is the end of my document. Okay, so we have explored the interface of Microsoft Word, but I want to go a little bit into the background and show you just a couple things that I like to do. Whenever I'm teaching my classes, I like to make sure that my students know what version of Microsoft Office they are using. I like to make sure that they change their save mode, and I'll explain that when I get there. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the File tab, which will take you to your Backstage View. I'm going to click on it once. And then what I want to do, I'm going to go to my account information. When I click on account, it will tell me some information about my Microsoft 2016 account. So this is made up of 3 columns, and whenever I'm giving instruction, I may say go to column 1, or go to column 2, or go to column 3. Now also, so I am in column 3. And I am using Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2016. I'll usually ask my students what version they're using so that I have an idea of what works in one version and doesn't work in another version. Also, this button right here is very important. So when you're doing updates, so you can click your down arrow and you can update now. I usually suggest to the students that they don't do this while they are actually using the software. It does say that you can still use it while it's updating. Me personally, I would rather just let it do its thing, and then once it's done, I can go ahead and get my work done. Now over here in the middle where it says account, it's telling me that I need to sign in. I'm not going to do that right now because every time I sign in and I close it and I go back, I'm not sure why it keeps looping. It'll tell me that I didn't sign in, so I'm going to leave it the way it is right now. Now over here in the first column down at the bottom where we have options, I'm going to click on options, and you're going to get your Word options dialog box that opens up. And the thing that I want to do, I always like to have them go to their save page. These are called pages. I'm going to click on page, save, and then if you look over here to your right, The save section is broken up by these gray bars. So the gray bars will let you know what section you're in. So right now I'm looking at the save document section. Now the first check mark, it says save auto recover information every 10 minutes. So what I like to do is have the students change this to every 1 minute. Because in essence, what will happen is if your computer crashes, your computer shuts off, what it's going to do when you go to open it back up, it's going to give you 10 minutes before it crashed or the computer shut down. So when it comes back up, it brings me up to the last 1 minute. And I'm like, oh, I remember the last thing that I did before I had an issue with the software. The other thing that I want to show you is the AutoRecover file location. So whenever your computer crashes or there's an issue when it has to shut down, this is where those files go. So I want to show you how this works. Let me go ahead and click OK to close this. And I'm going to click the X to close this. I'm not going to save, so I'm going to click Don't Save. Now, when I go back into Word again, when I go to Open, Word, I'm in my Backstage View, and I'm going to click Open on the left side of my screen. See this button at the bottom where it says Recover Unsaved Documents? When I click, it's going to take me to that file location. And see how today is the 28th of July, and see how it says today's date, and the time that I ended this was at 2:33 p.m. and then it recovered it. I can go ahead and click and then open, and it will bring me back my document. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm not going to save. And so that concludes this section. I'd like to thank you so much for hanging out with me. I truly hope that you learned something new. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have an amazing day.